Bretto, for years our Sydney-based Wellness Couch fans have been saying, when are you coming to Sydney?
Oh, they've been banging the door down, MP. Well, Sydney-siders, we'll be in your neck of the woods on Saturday, June the 2nd.
We're going out of the CBD, we're heading straight down the highway to the regions of the Illawarra and the beautiful town of Kiama for our third and final Wellness Base Camp of the year.
Join Fuad Kassab from Quirky Cooking to talk all about food. Naturopath, gut guru and female health extraordinaire, Helen Patteran.
Stress is a hot topic with Dr. Maria Zushman, and you and I, Bretto, are talking about succeeding at life and love and work at the same time as succeeding in health, because there is no wellness in a life that doesn't feel good.
Zazen Alkaline Water presents the Wellness Base Camp. One full day of inspiration and education on Saturday, June 2 from 10 till 5.
There's over $1,000 in door prizes, a raft of world-class local exhibitors, and a room full of people just like you.
Bring a buddy and get 2 tickets for the price of 1 before they're all gone.
All details and tickets at thewellnessbasecamp.com.
That's thewellnessbasecamp.com.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Before we get started today, I'd love to introduce you to our new podcast sponsor, which is Fire Tonic. If you haven't heard of Fire Tonic before, it is a raw fermented apple cider vinegar that has a whole heap of other goodness in it, such as chilies, turmeric, garlic, horseradish, ginger, just to name a few, and it has this delicious, warming, spicy kind of aftertaste that just warms your stomach and your solar plexus and has you feeling amazing just by taking it. But aside from that, raw apple cider vinegar is immune boosting. It's antibacterial, antiviral. It will decongest whatever you are stuffed up in the head with. It's antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. It's also the best digestive booster. Apple cider vinegar is the same pH as our natural secretions and also stimulates those natural secretions. So if you're feeling a bit low in your digestive system, if you've got a bit of a sore throat or feel something coming on, it's great. I've used this before just to knock something on its head, like a sore throat or a virus that's gone through the rest of my family. And for me, I've just kept up with the Fire Tonic little shots, which I absolutely love anyway because I love a bit of spice. And it really does just knock it on its head. So it is locally made here in Torquay, Victoria, in small batches from a really ancient gypsy recipe. And we are absolutely mad for it. So if you also need a bit of a boost this winter that you can take that is delicious, digestive and immune boosting, then please jump on to hillbilby, HILBILBY.com.au and check them out. You can also use a special promo code for our tribe, which is Nourish, NOURISH 10, in order to get 10% off your order, just to give it a go. Bridget and I use it. It's on our counter all the time. So head on over to hillbilby.com.au/discount/nourish 10 to get your 10% off and start loving on some Fire Tonic.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is When You Are in the Mother of All Funks. Which I love the title of. Bridget came up with that. Before we get kicking on that, though, I'd love to remind you to jump on to nourishingthemother.com.au and sign up to join our tribe, where once a week we'll send you an email that wraps up everything we've put out in the world with some links so you can pick and choose where you'd love to listen again, dive a little deeper, read a little more, and certainly immensely immerse yourself in the very thing that you love the most. So please jump on to nourishingthemother.com.au and sign up to join our tribe. Bridget, have you been in the mother of all funks?
I have. And I was thinking about why it is that I found myself here, and it's for a pretty good reason. I've had 2 sick kids, and I have done more washing in the past 3 weeks than I think I've done in probably the last year.
Washing.
So So I'm constantly looking from one area of the house to the other at either the washing pile or the dishes pile. And then when I get a handle on one, the other one's overflowing.
I so get that.
Oh my God. I've been having to wash towels and sheets every day for probably about 2 weeks because my kids have had school sores. It's been a nightmare. And, you know, my baby, well, not baby now, she's a toddler, wakes up at least once, maybe 3 times a night with asking for cream to go on them, and she's itchy and she's unhappy. And, you know, so it's just the relentlessness, right? And so I think it can so easily plunge us into the mother of all funks. And so I'm really I wouldn't say I'm totally captured by it because I've, you know, fortunately got a lot of tools to work myself out of it.
Which you'll share with us.
Which we'll share. But I really wanted to, you know, chat about this stuff because I think that we can make lots of jokes about the, you know, relentlessness of motherhood and how overwhelming it is and how touched out and tapped out we can be and how in service we are all the time and also how often how that can manifest into grumpiness and lashing out at our kids. And, you know, if you're a part of our tribe, that's not really where you want to go. You're looking for a conscious path through it. And so, you know, as I've noticed my own frustrations turning up a notch and my own capacity to, you know, handle my toddler tossing water off the table and, you know, just doing normal toddler stuff, that listening, that to me is feedback about what do I need right now to lift myself out of the funk, you know?
And so what for you has that been? What do you need?
More prioritization of the things that really fill me up so that I can fuel my family, you know, in whatever way that needs to look for them. And I noticed that because I was thinking, what's not working here? Like, what am I missing? What am I not doing for myself? Or what am I not valuing about my contribution now that means that I'm not enjoying this as much? And I recognized that I wasn't creating as much space as I had in the past around a lot of sort of self-care or self-nourishment practices that I tend to really use to put back in. I hadn't been doing that as much because, you know, there's just less time, right? Like when you're caught up with other stuff, things go by the wayside. And I also recognized that I was letting what I saw as, you know, values held by the world around me infiltrate my own sense of myself in this world and what I was choosing to value in the world. And so because I was letting those outer voices kind of spend too much time in my inner world, I was starting to not appreciate the incredible gift it is to be able to be home with my children, you know, to be able to be a parent really invested in the school community, or to be able to, you know, be the person that my daughter knows the most, and to be able to have been home with her since she was born. And I mean, these are things that some women can only dream of, you know, they may simply not have the opportunity to do that. And it's choices that I've made to do this, but culminating also in officially quitting my corporate job, like that 10-year career that I had. There's also been that dance between that professional who I was for so long and how that is so well valued by our culture and by society, to be climbing the ladder and having all of the trappings and, you know, be on that train of like rat race kind of stuff, versus being in the depths of home life, you know, and the juxtaposition of those two things and what it means to be a mother and have journeyed both of those, to really be able to hold the tension between the identities that we can try on in our motherhood and transform as we journey deeper and deeper into and longer into our own path as a mother, and how much those identities can shift and change as we shift and change, and how much trying to hold on to any one of those can bring us pain because we're not appreciating the perfection of where we are right now.
So what are the identities that you've had to face or morph?
I think it's really been that legitimacy of being that, you know, working mother, getting a paycheck week to week, and my work being something that I had to commit to, that there was no way out of it, and that was what I was going to, and that was just as legitimate as the work that my husband was going to, You know, so he had to do just as much as I did to make sure the childcare worked. Whereas the work that I do in the world now is much more fitting around life. And that works to a degree, but it is also, if we're not careful, it can manifest in the sense of like resentment, because, you know, my work has to be flexible because his work's not. My work has to be flexible because right now that's not bringing in the bacon like my old work used to, or that old identity that I used to have did. And I really see this as why so many women, particularly new mothers, often rush back into their work identity, because that's the part of them that feels known and safe and appreciated, and a part of them that they understand. When you find yourself caring for a baby, this is like a whole new part of yourself that you've got to get to know, that you've got to learn to trust, that you've got to listen to and make okay the learner again, because you're constantly learning every day with a baby. You're constantly being thrust into situations that you can't control. And so I really want to, I suppose, offer mothers who are at that point, you know, that real heartfelt knowing of what that's like, and that real sense of holding and a real belief in you, if that's you listening, that what you're doing is profoundly important, even if nobody else will tell you it. Because I don't think that we really live in a culture at the moment that particularly well supports mothers who really want to deeply invest in the mothering journey and really want to deeply invest in who they grow and become as a mother and a woman on that journey. Not simply, you know, a woman who has this, this and this and is also a mother.
Well, also because the social point of view or the cultural point of view seems to be that your growth stops when you give yourself over to motherhood, that you stop being a woman in the world, as opposed to it being an expanded version or, you know, an act of service like a spiritual guru would when they go and meditate in the mountains seeking for more enlightenment. It's seen as a pause in our life as opposed to a purposeful seeking.
It's so true, isn't it? And it's particularly any reference to career or those kinds of discussions. It always is defined as like the work pause, or, you know, that pause to be at home, as if that's not a value. But, you know, there's such incredible wisdom to be gained, as we know, like through giving ourselves to this stage of life, you know, where they are so deeply dependent on us, and where what we do and who we are and how we guide them becomes a fabric of the world that they know and of the self that they know.
And also how much of our subconscious we meet.
Oh, God.
Yeah, right?
I know.
And because they are the walking embodiment of everything that we've shoved away.
Yeah.
And packed away so neatly that when we're at work, we don't even have to look at.
Well, the thing is, because I was thinking about that, like when I, you know, would go into an office and be gone for 10, 12 hours a day, and, you know, I had a really trusted care provider, like I could just forget for hours that I even had any other responsibilities apart from what was right in front of me. But yet when you don't have that, and you're responsible for the home and whatever other startup you've got or whatever other bits and pieces you've got, all those things are on all of the time. There's no switching off. And there is, I mean, I really grasp this concept now of people talking about this mental load of motherhood, right? Like where you have so many tabs open, and how we are with ourselves in that journey. You know, how we
I wonder if there's like a literal, how many tabs do you have open on your browser? Because you have so many tabs open, I find it overwhelming.
I do.
I can't even look at your computer screen when we're working together. I'm like, I just can't. Like, it's too much. There's too many options there. There's too many to-do lists. I have 2 tabs open at the most.
Maybe that's my problem. I have too many tabs open.
Maybe. That's what I wondered. Is there like a psychoscience here?
Like a tab threshold.
No, it's a joke, but I did, as you said that, I thought, I wonder if there's like a study that could be done. How many tabs do you have open on your browser? Because either you're a person who needs all the tabs open, or you're a person who can only work on the tab that they've got.
Yeah, and it's also how many emails do you have sitting in your inbox? You know, like because some people can't have any.
I can't have any.
Whereas I've got like thousands just sitting there. maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's the overwhelm.
Anyway, back to on point.
Yeah.
I found a couple of your points really interesting, and particularly when you're talking about how undervalued you can make your sole purpose in this world, whatever that is, because it might not be bringing in the financial empowerment that another area of life might be, or that another time in your life might have been that you value more. I think when you can start to look at it as I guess not as money just being a form of abundance, right? A form of empowerment, is that it's easy to say our sole purpose, whatever that is, whether that's motherhood, whether that's a soul calling to do particular work in this world. I think when we ignore those whisperings, I think we end up pretty disassociated and pretty grey several years down the track, because of course the more you dampen that, the more you dampen your spectrum of feeling, your sense of vitality, your way of showing up and being in this world gets covered over, right? It's the debris that sits covering the wild woman that sits underneath.
You're really coming off the back of surviving, aren't you? Not really thriving.
Well, and getting so used to mistrusting your body, mistrusting your guidance system, mistrusting your bowl of creation, your ability to sense your own desire. I think you dampen and desensitize so many areas of your life together with your body when you choose that. And it seems like the easier choice, but I think in the long run it's the harder choice. Whereas I think in the short term, the harder choice is to listen to those whisperings and to choose to action them. I think that's hard in the short term because you have to face so much of your ego and so much of the story and the identity that you have built up, which is the purpose of growth, right, is to shatter that which we think is fixed in order to evolve into something new.
Absolutely.
And we always expand when we do that. And we hit always areas of pain and fear whenever we're sitting on that precipice of new growth. So, I really heard that too, because I think it's really easy, even the work that you and I do with Nourishing the Mother, you do suburban sandcastles as well, which, blows my mind that you don't, because when you had originally had this conversation with me, I was like, that seems like the most empowered, incredible work in this world. Like, how can you possibly in your mind think that the corporate job you had is less than that? Because I see Bridget, who, is this conscious voice in this world and woman who is on this journey to, break apart our disillusions and speak in this world and find her voice on so much that matters to women and to families living now. How can you think that the corporate job was more than that? Because I look at what you do now and I go, my God, that's amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Versus we at a corporate job would be like, oh yeah, that's nice. Got a nice kitchen.
Yeah, I've got a nice kitchen. Yeah.
But I guess my point is I really, I get that, because I think it's easy to put those things that we maybe are culturally programmed to make less important on our daily priorities list. I think it's short-term easier to do that, long-term harder.
I think it's also that battle within
of worth,
and also to either accept comfort, which comfort comes in the status quo, the path that's laid for you, versus the pain but ultimate freedom that comes when you crash and bash your way through the bullshit that you've sold yourself and your world has sold you to get more and more authentic. And that's where I'm at. So I have got rid of the illusory path, that has taught me enormous things, and I cannot discount that, and super grateful.
There's always pain in new manifestation though, right?
Yeah.
There's no manifestation that doesn't involve pain.
Yeah. But, the forging of like the entrepreneurial path means that you're constantly facing every part of yourself every day that you hate, to get you to grow more, empower yourself more quickly, because there's no one else who's got you back. Like, it's you and you only. You know, you've got to show up, because if it's not you, then who? And there are infinite ways to hide when you're going to work for someone else in a high rise, you know, in a cubicle with a salary. You know, you can have an off day. You can just but you can't do that when it's only you, when you're in.
Same as in motherhood, right?
Same as in motherhood. Exactly.
You can't just check out.
You might, you know, not want an adult today, but people need to be fed. Tears need to be listened to. Nappies need to be changed. You know, the hearts need to be, you know, mended. There's so much that I think there's so much similarities between the motherhood journey and the entrepreneurial journey, because they are such a profound journey of self and of awakening, which we so often want to run from when it gets hard. And so when we're in the mother of all funks, it is like that wake-up call. It is, I think, on some level, our intuition trying to get us to wake up, you know, see the side you're not seeing here, see the magnificence that's waiting for you to lean into, to find, to witness, and know that what you're doing is so profound.
I think it can be a big leap to go from funk to that if you're probably not well versed in maybe conscious questions.
Yeah.
You know, like we would walk our tribe to.
Yeah, to be fair.
So maybe we could just break that apart a little, because I think when you're in the mother of all funks, it is there as a wake-up call. Our feelings are feedback. Our feelings are there to say, you know, hang on a minute, tune in, like our cycle. What is not working here? What is it that you're wanting or desiring that you're not even listening to right now? Where is your voice lost or hidden that's asking to be heard? And it's when we start to apply these smaller scale questions that can be on an hourly basis. What is it that I really need right now? What am I really seeking right now? And we realize that we've got a whole stack of beliefs that we've got to hit when we do that. So, you know, my head says, well, in order to feel valuable today, I have to tick off the 15 things that I have on my list. And then I can say that even though, you know, the world doesn't value me and I'm not getting paid for this work, that I've done enough to be valuable today. I certainly know I find myself there. So I think it's sometimes checking in and going, okay, I'm in a funk. And no different to what I would say to my kids is I would look them in the eyes and I would say, what's going on with you right now? And so in a way, I'm asking you to parent yourself and say, what's going on with you right now? And listening for the honest answer of, I just feel. And what's underneath that? So when you just feel, I just feel depleted. Okay, and when you feel depleted, what happens? Well, I'm grumpy at home. And when you're grumpy at home, what happens? Well, then my kids, you know, I'm not the mother that I want to be. And when you're not the mother that you want to be, what happens? Well, when I'm not the mother that I want to be, I am fucking my kids up. And if you fuck your kids up, what does that mean? I haven't done a good enough job. And if you haven't done a good enough job, what does that mean? And you just keep going till you get to the end belief where you go, oh, right. Who did I learn that from? And you start to realize that you're running, even though it started as I'm just really tired, you realize it ends up being maybe it's motherhood isn't worthy, or I'm not okay to ask for what I need, or me slowing down right now means I haven't done enough to be okay. And just starting to ask yourself, what are the beliefs that are actually underlying or driving the behavior? Because it's never the surface behavior, it's what's actually driving it underneath, no different to what we would say with our kids. And so I think often when you're in a funk, it's about starting there with what is it that I'm really trying to get met here, because my feeling has a purpose. And sometimes I think it's slowing down. So I've had a mother of all funks week as well, sick kids, and then I got sick and I was just horrendously tired. Had a baby waking up at night too. And you know, I realized since we started building I think I've said this before, but since we started building our sexuality course, my sense of sexual self is just like,
shut up shop,
disappeared from my body. We know where it's flourishing because Bridget and I are creating it. Yeah. But at the same time, I've been like, what is going on here?
Ripped off.
Well, and just angry. And then at the same time, like in the mother of all funks, can't be fucked actually changing that shit. Not doing it right now. no energy, don't care.
Later.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time being like, I don't like that. That doesn't feel good. And then seeing an invitation from my husband and being like, that just makes me angry. Because really I'm angry at myself right now, right? Because I'm not waking myself up.
Yeah. And
it's not about
whole thing. It's like the pain has
it's
to be
not about
great
him.
enough for
Yes,
you to
it
change
does,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, the pain is never about him. It's about me.
Yeah.
So I can, make up so many stories about him, but really it's about the story I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
I can't even think how I got there. But I've been in the mother of all funks about, about that, about lacking sexuality. And then I had this week where I just completely plummeted, was forced to, again, scale back my list of 500 million jobs to do because I had to bring it right back to basics. And I knew I had to slow down. And guess what happens when you slow down? Your sensuality comes back. Because you get to feel more.
Because you're in your feminine, you're not in your masculine.
Well, you get to feel. You have the space to feel. And when I slow down, I have the space to feel more nourished. And when I feel more nourished, when I have time to feel slow, I get to feel my body rather than rushing with my head. And I get time to listen to the aches and potentially spend some time remedying them. And I have time to think about what I'm putting in my mouth. And I have time to ask my heart the questions that I have not had the space or created the space to listen to. And when I do that, I find, there you are. You weren't missing. You were funneled into other areas. But it takes a certain sense of discerning to decide where to put your energy, doesn't it?
It does.
And sometimes it's easier to say we have to put our energy in these other things because it keeps us safe from getting really vulnerable with the thing that we really want to be doing, but we're resisting. Because it's where our, greatest pain and greatest power is, right?
Yeah.
Always. So, I just thought is there anything else you want to say about maybe stepping out the funk a little bit more? I feel like I've sidetracked.
No, it was a really relevant sidetrack. I think it's getting more comfortable in the funk, like it's actually making the funk safe.
Yes.
Like feeling into the funk.
Yes.
What is the message of the funk?
Yes.
What is it? Because often it can be we want to run away from what we don't like to feel. Right? Like, so it's not so much...
It's easier to be busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, definitely we can feel more valuable and valid as people when we're busy because it feels like we're contributing in some way. But often what we're trying to run away from with the feeling of the funk is not so much, whatever we're wanting to avoid it's almost like the ruse, right? Like it's not actually that thing. That thing is like the red flag for what's underneath it, as you were suggesting before. So it's staying that little bit longer in the feelings that's bringing up for us.
And just asking why, what's here for me? What's here for me?
Yeah. And because, to really experience the expanse of life is to be willing to sink into the expanse of feeling. So it's not so much about feeling better, it's getting better at feeling all of it. And so there is wisdom in the funk, because it is our wake-up call. But it's also about saying, hey, like you can handle this too. And I think, and I wrote about this the other day with my kids being sick and, like my husband was wanting to fix it all and, like berating himself about not, somehow controlling it. And I was like, there's got to be something in this for us, like we're learning here. We're learning a lot, and I think about how it helped my kids really get inside in their bodies, helped me really nourish them on a sensory level with, constantly putting creams on and like checking in with how they were feeling. And it brought all of our attention to their bodies and to their health and to how to best nurture them.
And by virtue to them.
Yeah. And these are things that you sometimes don't get taken to when they're really in really robust, good health. And so it's about even finding appreciation for those darker parts of ourselves that we find difficult.
Because I think it can be easy to be the light chaser, to only want to chase after the light, the happy, the awesome, the we're so good.
Yeah.
And I always think the more you chase the light, the more you're running from your dark.
Yeah, totally. And I think also, we can so often be looking for evidence to feel like we're off track if it's feeling harsh, because if it's...
As opposed to it being the purpose.
Yeah, like if we're on purpose and if it's feeling good, then this must be right for us. This must be me living in alignment. But sometimes living in alignment and living your truth can be really messy and uncomfortable, and it can be overwhelming and scary and hard, and that has purpose too.
And likely it is, if it's a top value, therefore you're living in alignment, you're living in your top values, you're going to meet your greatest challenge. So it doesn't mean less pain. It just means you have an underwriting motivation in which to break through that pain.
Yes. So that's that whole thing that even judging somebody for giving up, and we can't judge that because we don't give up on the things that are most important to us. So in fact, we can be grateful to ourselves for the things that we have given up on in the past, because clearly they're not as important. They weren't important enough to us. The things that our soul yearns for and that we are going after in this life are the things that we continue to show up for, even when it's fucking hard, because we know that pain is a pathway. We know that pain has a purpose, and so often it can be about giving ourselves permission, despite the world around us, to continue to stay with that and not get out too.
When it comes to our sexuality, we want to look at the beliefs and the meanings that we've picked up as much as the ones that we've made up about our experiences.
In our Loathing to Loving program, we look at relationships to our family, partner, children, and feminine self, and spend a module in Nourish and Nurture, deeply expanding that feminine wisdom. Our Sensuality and Sexuality course is the next dive, exclusive to those who've taken part in the Loathing to Loving program.
The reason for that is the theory and the tools that you gain from Loathing to Loving underpin the knowledge of the psychosexual story that we build upon in our Sensual Sexual Deep Dive. For $289, you can join us in our exclusive Sensuality Sexuality course, or 3 payments of $97. We really want to walk you through loving your sexuality more than your sex life.
To find out more and join us, go to nourishingthemother.com.au/online programs. So what we really want to take you through here is this idea that motherhood is intrinsically valuable and fulfilling, and to really hold the belief in that. If you're struggling with the opposite, if you're feeling like that's not true for you right now because of however you've become cultured to see motherhood. And there's really a way that we can get there when we start to shift our mindset around it. And one of those is to really know and align with your values. And this is, the key part of our Loathing to Loving program, which sets up so much of the work that we take mothers through.
You have to know that. If you don't know that, you're kind of flying blind in your day.
Yeah, and your day's so easily run by everyone else.
Yeah, the needs of others, as opposed to creating and being consumed. So we're so consumed by the needs of others, we forget that we ourselves have needs.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's when you know what those needs are and you're incredibly clear on them, it becomes very intentional as a practice to align your day with that. And when you align your day, you align your year, and then you align your life.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, some great questions to ask yourself to get a little bit clearer on what your own values look like is, how do you feel your space? So what are you surrounded with? What are you constantly looking at or researching, for example? And what lights you up in conversation? What is it that you can be in a room or around some other people and they're talking and your ears prick up and you want to be talking about what they're talking about, or you instantly become an authority on a topic that other people are talking about? Like, that's a key back to what's really purposeful for you.
What is it for you?
Oh, God. I'm super passionate about motherhood.
Me too.
And
there's a parenting conversation.
And parenting.
I'm like,
yeah. And parenting. Health on some level. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's heaps of stuff. Learning.
Consciousness.
Human development.
Yeah.
Consciousness. Yeah. Another one is to know the story and the belief that holds you back and is creating your cage. Because it's really interesting to ask yourself, when have I last felt this? When's another time that I've been feeling like this? Because it'll be in a cyclical pattern.
Well, our current reality is literally a byproduct of our beliefs and thoughts.
Yeah.
So if you want to change your reality, you have to look at where you need to change your beliefs and your thought patterns. And so that's the whole purpose of going backwards before you can go forwards.
Yeah.
You have to go backwards to go forwards.
Yeah, because you have to go forwards and backwards to pattern,
Yeah.
and change. So those, some of those questions could be, whatever the belief is that you've got to keep asking, what will happen then? If that belief is true, what will happen then?
And then what will happen, and then what will happen, and then what will happen, until you start to see you've already created a story around the fact that not eating the banana means your child's going to die. And I could go, wow, that's a really painful leap. How did you get there?
Yeah.
But you kind of track your mind back to, you wouldn't have started with, well, I get so wild when my child doesn't eat their dinner. And you think it's just about the dinner, but in actual fact, it's about a super old story where you had this experience where maybe a sibling nearly died, or your mother was perpetually worried about you dying, or you were eating when your dad died, or, we've created this story that's implanted there, and now all of a sudden it's being triggered when our child won't eat their dinner, but we think it's about that, but it's not. And
and we think that they need to change.
Yeah.
Because, we're so riled up about it, but actually they're just the messenger for what's stored in our psyche and looking for healing.
Yes. So they express our repressed parts.
Yeah.
Genius.
It is, if not brutal.
That too.
And the other one is know the light that is within you. So really looking for evidence of your own magnificence. And this is a topic that some women in our courses find hard, to really step into, because we're not really cultured as women to shout from the rooftops what makes us amazing. And so we often have to do a lot of shouting for them, which we actually love to.
Yeah.
To really help find the gold mine that is in every woman in our course. And, for example, even things that we judge, like being jealous and being jealous of other people, that's a feedback for us. That's kind of us whispering to ourselves through our perceptions of others to find out, where am I already that thing that I'm seeing in that person?
Yeah.
Where do I
want
already
that.
do that?
I want that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're calling yourself into expanding more of that within. And therefore, instead of that person that we want to be jealous of, we can go, oh, thank you for showing me that I want to expand in that way. And another one is just to nourish the woman that you are. So this is, our fourth module in our Love This Loving program. And this is really about, I want you to tell us about this.
Oh,
because I just love how Jules just leans into the feminine here.
Look, as I said in my story before, I honestly think that it always starts with slowing down for me. And I think it's because we're so cultured to have such a heightened sense of purpose and priority with our mind that we forget we have a feeling body. And the way to feel a body is to slow down enough to really feel it. I mean, we have this whole practice of mindfulness, but I want it to be more a body sensation and practice than a mind one, because it's in our body that we meet our gateways of stored memory, and we're able to bust through stuff that our mind just can't access and embody and emulate things we didn't know that we had capacity for, and to just know ourselves more deeply and create safety in this vessel that is perfectly designed for our soul in this lifetime. I think I hold such reverence for our physical form because I feel like it is this uniquely, perfectly sculpted vessel. It's a vessel of the goddess in every form. So I'm always fascinated by, how is my body serving me? How does your body serve you? I look at my friends around me and I think, how does that serve you? How is that love? And, I just slowing down, because I particularly have a very overactive mind, and my safe place is my mind. It's not my body. My body is a practiced place to be. But I found the most freedom by learning how to be in my body. And I think for most women in this culture, that is the step we're missing, because we are no longer taught how to be in our body. We're not taught that as a safe passageway in childhood. And we're not taught that as we're blossoming into our own sexuality and sensuality. We're not taught that in birth.
No.
We're not taught that in any rite of passage. And I feel emotional as I'm saying it, because it literally feels like it breaks my heart. Like it hurts when I think about the injustices that we do to these beautiful bodies that are feeling on so many subtle levels. And yet we've desensitized and removed ourselves so much that we only experience the gross motor friction, you know? And I just, you know, I speak about this every time I do a blog post where I've, you know, had some awesome parenting moment. And I think it always starts for me with slowing down. Because as soon as I slow down, I can move into my feeling state. And it's in my feeling state that I have power. And I think we forget that there's power in being slow, embodied and intentional. So that's what we work on. I mean, you and I have just sat here recording some modules for sensuality, sexuality. It's such a huge part.
It's massive.
You want to know the step into your feminine and the step into awakening your own sensuality and the step into having, you know, a perimeter around your ferocity. It starts with being in your body. And there's practices you can do to get there. You know, and I think it takes both mind and body to actually practices from both genres, if you want to call it that, to fully make safe and create change. So I'm really passionate about nourishing the woman that you are, because there is absolute poise and purpose in that, in a physical form and in a spiritual form. So slow the fuck down.
And I'm sure that's a message.
When in doubt, slow down.
Yeah.
If nothing else, just slow down. Literally slow down.
I mean, and that is a golden rule too in parenting as well.
Yes. Exactly, right?
Because, you know, slowing down and getting present, getting on their level, you know, not only reparents ourselves and how we want to react, and also really shows up in ways that our kids need us to show up. But I digress anyway.
No, it's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, you know, a part of slowing down is also asking yourself, particularly as we're talking about being in a funk, is when you're in feeling states that don't feel good, and even if they do feel good, asking yourself, what is it that you most need right now? Because the only reason you're deviating off a path that doesn't feel quite right is because you're trying to whisper something to yourself. It's not because something's wrong or bad or you've done something or not done something. It's a whisper. Our subconscious, our psyche, our spiritual essence, our divine God doesn't speak to us necessarily in an English language, but we can always hear that through our body if we're willing to connect to the subtlety of that and sit long enough to ask, what is it that I really want right now? And then do the very courageous and daring thing of actually doing that. It's one thing to think it. It's another thing to actually act on it. And this is why we say seduction is attraction in action, is because it's what is the thing that you are attracted to that you can act on that creates the feeling of seduction. Seduction is just a drawing towards, an innate pull towards something. It's the magnetism we talk about, and that happens when we're feeling great, and that happens when we're feeling super funky. What are we pulling ourselves towards? And to actually listen. Slow down enough to listen. It's so important in our cycles. Like we just did a podcast on, you know, parenting with your period, right? This is all part of that.
Yeah.
Listening to those inner voices and slowing down enough to hear them. And I think there's no time more necessary for that than when we're in a funk of any sort that's feeling super funky. Why? What purpose is this serving, like you were doing?
It's big stuff. And I'm super excited that we're about to do another live round of Loathing to Loving in the next month.
I know.
Because
we always hit our own stuff.
Yeah, we always hit our own stuff and we always do it with everybody else. So it's really profound for us. So we're like, yes, there's another one. Although part of us is like, oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling called to unpack some of your own stuff with us, we would so love you to join in. So you can join up anytime. So it's just go to nourishingyourmother.com.au/online programs and you'll find it there.
Loathing to Loving.
Loathing to Loving. And we will get started in the live round on the 25th of June.
Yeah, so you have 4 modules online that you get lifetime access to, so you can check in as often as you want, and then we run the 3 live rounds because you've always got stuff coming up.
Yeah.
You don't just do it once and go, well,
I'm done.
Done, evolved.
Tick.
And because we're so really conscious of how that journey rolls, and that the journey of the feminine is always a bit, you know, snake-like. It's not linear. So we always want to create this tribe where we are honouring our cycles and our ability to descend into the underworld in order to be reborn. So
that's it.
Hallelujah.
So To connect with you, Jules,
is thepleasurenutritionist.com and Newbridge.
suburbansandcastles.com.
Do you know your next movie?
Yeah, The Goddess Project. How perfect.
How perfect.
And The Gut Movie as well. So 2 big ones coming up.
Particularly given winter and illness and wellness.
Yeah, totally. And also to connect with us, you can go to nourishingthemother.com.au and Nourishing the Mother on Facebook and Instagram.
And we do love that you listen, and we really adore your communications, private messages and emails. They really light up our hearts.
They're really awesome.
And make us go, oh, my goodness. Making a difference in the world.
Yes.
So
remember to nourish the mother, to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This year, the Wellness Summit returns.
I realised in this time that I couldn't keep waiting for love from other people. I couldn't keep expecting love from other sources. So I had to give that to myself.
Yanni says, I don't care if everyone says that the kitchen is the woman's world. He says, I'm going to prepare food. I love my own cheese. I love my own wine. I don't care what you think of my new flat screen TV. He just loves company.
I started asking myself more often, what do I want? Such a simple question, isn't it? But when you think that, and I'm sure all of you sitting there, when you think that, something springs into your mind. And there's something there that you want that you haven't been doing for yourself.
Brett Hill and Marcus Pearce feature at the 2018 Wellness Summit. Bigger and better than ever. Tickets on sale Friday, May 4 at thewellnesssummit.com.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.